this policy making exercise, which is very much a political exercise, but political studies unfortunately doesn't really work like that. So I'm glad that I'm here. Thanks to Richa for motivating me and thinking about this question. Before coming to this seminar, let me tell you something. For last 2 days I was having heavy fever. And I was thinking that probably because I'm nervous about this conference and therefore I'm having fever. But after coming here and listening to Abhijit and then the previous presentation, I think now I'm feeling better. And because I was thinking that there are scientists who are there are scientists here, there are people who are working in the field. What are political studies person doing here? But there are few puzzles I think which made me realize that I am of some relevance. One thing is that one in a smaller way Abhijit mentioned it, that we have to understand the changing nature of the country. That means that less than half of India's economy is now agricultural economy. One. Number two, a large number of people are migrating from agriculture to urban areas. And there is something called green revolution which we have already heard. But there is another revolution, good or bad, that time will tell. Another revolution, that is that India is going to be a place which will be witnessing the largest number of migration in the human history from rural to urban areas. The point I am trying to highlight that if we talk about agriculture, largely we are talking about rural areas. But are we not missing on a larger count which is urban areas? How do we talk about the question of soils in an urban context? That is one question. Second, those who are not in agriculture, are they not responsible for preserving the soil? I think when we raise the soil question from a productivity perspective, we are actually shifting the responsibility entirely on those who are in the agriculture sector. That means we are shifting the responsibility on the rural areas. And if I may add this, that we are also shifting an additional burden on those farmers who have already seen large number of farmers committing suicide across India. So are we not adding one more burden that way? Why I have created this platform to say that saying that soil is something which is about agriculture, which is about increasing productivity, which is about crop health, which is about producing more and more is actually a problematic domain. Which is not something which we have created. It is a creation of the government and state policy in the last 60, 70 years. In other words, the first point which I would like to flag is that we have to understand that soil is, I would differ with Abhijit, he used the word a common good. I would say soil is something called the global common, where we all share a responsibility. Even if I am not a part of it, even if I am not somebody who is working on that soil, it is my responsibility. So a soil in Tamil Nadu, some village, or a soil in some village of Jammu is an equal responsibility of mine, even if I am not directly impacted by it. I am eating the apple which is being produced in Europe. So that way it becomes my responsibility as well. So from the knowledge policy interface, I think first thing which this workshop should highlight, that soil is a global common. It is not something which is an individual responsibility, because individual then goes to rural goes to farmer, and a farmer means even a smaller marginal farmer. That's one point. Second point is that, which has again been a product of the 60 years of history of economic sciences in India, that is that science and technology can solve some problems related to agriculture. Now I would like to tell you two stories here. These are not stories, actually these are narratives, and whatever little understanding I have of the rural and agrarian and agriculture, I think the credit goes to these people. There is one farmer, his name is Rajaram, who works in the same place where the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched the soil health card scheme in the Suratgarh region. He works in the same region, he is a farmer. Another farmer his name is Prem Singh, who lives in Banda district, 30 kilometers away town from Banda. He is a small farmer. He calls himself a progressive farmer. He is very well articulate, he is very proactive, but very interesting points he raised. Now I will talk about these two examples quickly. I was talking to Mr. Rajaram, who is himself is a farmer. He said a problem with the soil health card. He said that I went to one person and I asked him that, can you tell me what kind of nutrients I should be using in the field? And he gave me one prescription that these are the things which you should be using. He said, I did that. Now, after a few months, he met another person who said, I can give you a better prescription. Now, he said that I paid to him, I brought him in the field, he gave me a different prescription. He said that these are the nutrients which you should be using. Now, not only that, he said that the another person whom I had called, he said that these are the technologies which you should be using. This will give you higher productivity. He invested in those technologies, but the problem with those technologies was that the labor with which he was using those technology, that labor was not skilled enough to use those technologies. Whether it is the tractor or using newer seeds or using better seeds. He said then the company person told me that you need to have different kind of labor to use this technology. Now my father was a doctor and Rajaramji was used to come to him to take consultation. He said that I am worried that probably it is the same problem which we face with the doctor. If we go to one doctor, he will tell you have this disease. You go to another doctor, he will say no, the previous one was wrong. You take this medicine. Then you go to third person who will say no, the problem is because of the previous medicine, you take the third one. He said, I didn't know what is the right method. And he said that I am in a trap now. I'll come to the Prem Singh story. Now Prem Singh highlighted a wonderful narrative. I don't know how to actually appreciate it. He said that you have to understand a village, a gram. Prem Singh explained it to me that location of a gram, a village was not simply that you put a place anywhere and you start living. He said usually people will settle down in a village where there will be 3 or 4 kinds of land with 4 kinds of soils. So a land is a culmination of different kinds of soils. So I just taking from the previous presentation that soil health card, the biggest problem with the soil health card that it does not recognize rural as a category. It works only on individual. So the moment you work on an individual category, you actually make an individual farmer part of an economy which is focusing more and more on productivity, and you are a part of that entire trap of increasing productivity, increasing more and more better seeds and higher fertilizers and so on and so forth. Now, the way Prem Singh narrated the entire thing, he said that there was a manner in which the agrarian economy will function. Now, what happened during the land reforms? That entire structure was broken. Because something in Madhya Pradesh it is called Charoni land, which is the grazing land. It is everywhere in all parts of India. Now, when that grazing land was distributed amongst different communities. Now, he said that the problem was that land reforms were not implemented with a foresight, with a vision for the future. Where do I take this entire discussion? The first point which I said that we have to think that soil is a common. It's something called global common. It's not an individual activity. Number 2, just now what I highlighted, that I think instead of an individual farmer health card, we need one village specific health card. So that is the second point I think I would like to flag. That probably we need to move up on the ladder, and what Abhijit was saying that we have to work about the agency which can actually work. I think we have to think about having one village, a rural area, as an agency to work with the soils concept. 2. Thirdly, my work is largely about farmer suicides, understanding the rural agrarian change and why, what kind of stress situations do they cause. Now, to my understanding, it is not about economic reasons only. There are bigger reasons which probably we have overlooked, and one of the reason is that the the cultural aspect in the rural and agrarian has undergone a significant change. Now, when I say the cultural aspect has undergone a significant change, what do I mean? I mean to say that there were different methods which will attach a farmer with the land. Now, one quick example I'll give you which Prem Singh narrated. He said, when farmers used to use bulls in the farm, the farmer will be behind the bulls and will be looking at the soil continuously. Right? He said when the tractors came in, farmer will look back and see what is happening. That means that the attachment which you will have by looking down to your soil, your farm, that attachment is reduced because you look back and see, okay, it's working fine. So that emotional attachment gets reduced. Now, that's what Prem Singh highlighted, that when that emotional attachment goes down, it is not only about soil and land. Gradually, this emotional attachment gets reflected in the behavioral pattern of a farmer, his family, and the rural areas. According to him, this creates stress situations. The point is, I was thinking of playing Prime Minister's speech which he delivered in Suratgarh while launching the soil health card scheme, in which he said that माँ बीमार है अगर तो उसका इलाज हमें कराना होगा और इलाज कराने के लिए हमें डॉक्टर के पास जाना होगा. Now the first point is that we are assuming that माँ is बीमार. So even if there are some good parts in a soil, we assume that there must be some problems. The focus, I think, should be on highlighting that what are the good parts of a soil which we are observing, apart from looking what is deficient in a soil. A soil may have some deficiencies, but at the same time will have some strengths in it. I'm not a farmer, but I work with farmers and this is what I have learned from them. So I'm just putting that before you. What are the strengths of a soil? We need to highlight that as well. Now, in Prime Minister's speech, this was one point. Another point which he highlighted, that you have to produce more. Now see the shift in the culture of agrarian sector, that the green revolution came with the logic that we need to produce more because people are hungry in India. And today if you see, the logic has shifted from hunger to profitable business in agriculture. So how the debate has shifted. It's this shifting debate which has also created cultural gap. Now, my humble submission for the third point which I would like to highlight, that while talking about science, technology and other things, we also have to think about creating alternative cultures of soil. You might have seen in the rural areas across the world, it's not about India, you will have rural songs around soil. You will have festivals around soils. Now when the urban areas coming in, more and more parts are becoming urbanized, it's not only the soil which is gone. Those songs are gone, those festivals are gone, those collective gatherings are gone. In other words, gradually everyone who is associated with the soil becomes an atomized individual. I am careful about myself, I don't know what is happening to others. But it is the soil which connects people together. So can we think of an alternative culture? Why I raise this third point, I think one biggest policy deficiency, which if Avijay would have been here, I would have shared it with him as well. One biggest policy deficiency is that our policy was directed from the economic logics. It doesn't always work. There are bigger logics than economics, and one of them is the cultural logic. Now the challenge is that when I say cultural, I am not saying that you go back in history and create the, Sone ki chidiya wala India, and I am not saying any of this. What I am saying is that when times are changing, challenges are changing, I think we have to think of alternative cultures. I don't have an answer if you ask me what is exactly an alternative culture, but we can think about it. And this alternative culture has to be a part of any policy document which we try to prepare. I mean, I have worked with Planning Commission. I left before Abhijit joined, so I have seen that culture of planning. It was basically about increasing productivity. It was basically about maximizing the benefits. Now, the moment you say maximizing the benefits, you are saying that, exploit more, and then keep on exploiting and keep on producing. How long? Now, in this culture, that's what I would also like to highlight, that this culture has to address larger questions of social and economic inequalities. Bringing back to Suratgarh, which from where Prime Minister launched the scheme, and I will finish in 1 minute, less than that. Suratgarh, I need to highlight for two things. It is the same place from where Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru launched India's first collective farm with the help of Soviet Union. One. And second, it is the same place which has seen a tremendous change in agriculture due to irrigation facilities which came by the Indira Gandhi Canal. Now, that sounds fantastic. But if you visit Suratgarh, you will be surprised to see, you move out of Suratgarh, go 10 kilometers west, you won't find any mobile connectivity, you won't find even a school in many of the villages, and you will not find any impact of that wonderful change of a green revolution which we are promising. And last point, you need to take that into account, which Prime Minister highlighted but didn't talk much. The cancer train which we famously know, the second stoppage of that cancer train in Rajasthan is Suratgarh. So, you launch a scheme, now you have to understand the character of that scheme. It is a larger structural character which talks about productivity, science, technology, benefit, economy, individual, and so on. I think when we talk about soil, we have to change that perspective. We have to bring in the commons perspective. We have to talk about rural as a collective. And finally, we have to talk about an alternative culture. I will leave with these three knowledge policy interface agenda. Maybe I hope the workshop will be able to utilize these. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Hi, I'm Rachna. I'm here as an urban consumer today. Just wanted to understand, maybe Dr. Sudhir can answer my question. What can we, people in the city who are sort of at the mercy of the farmers, whose crisis also we have created in some way, what can we do, what role can we play, how could we contribute? Also, is there some possibility of taking matters in our own hands? Is there a possibility of a city farming? What are the models that can work?
Could you give your name, please?
I'm Rachna.
Quick answer to a question which was actually not raised to me. That is about the availability of food. I think we have learned a lot now over the last 30 years that lack of food item is not a problem in India. It is the distribution, it is the accessibility which is a problem. So I think we should move away from that point and think about better distribution systems. Anyways, that's around the mandate of this workshop. Quickly. Secondly, about what urban consumers should do, honestly speaking, I don't have an answer. Because I never thought in that direction. Recently, I have started thinking. And maybe I will think more in that direction. But thanks for that question. Secondly, one good point which you highlighted. What should be our role in this entire exercise? I think there was one thing which Farmers Commission started doing but couldn't do much about it. That is going to the field, going to the villages, staying there, spending time with those who actually do it every day, and then bringing some lessons out of it and clubbing it with the scientific experiences. I think that was a good exercise, but they did it at a very, very small level. They could have done it better because they were a bigger agency than what we do as individuals or as some collectives. Finally, about absolute landlordism, I think that's actually a very good question, because the absent landlords are actually trying to determine the culture of the rural. So I think we need to engage more with them. That's all I can say. We need to talk, about this culture thing. And one last point which concerns me as a political studies student, that is that how that nexus which is emerging now. It's not a new nexus; it has been there. Now a new partner is there in that nexus. I think we have to think about the role of government in controlling this whole exercise. The role of state is very crucial. I think that is nobody is denying. But we have to think what kind of intervention is required. And in the policy document which we are thinking, maybe we can talk about the role of state and government in controlling some of the newer agencies which are coming in the name of prescribing nutrients for the soil. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This has been a wonderful panel. Let's begin.